Okay, go ahead.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of the Northern Michigan University Finance Committee to order. And let the record show that we have trustees Mahaney and Haveman are present. So, and Mitchell as an ex officio member. And also we have trustee Savoy and Donna Murray Brown joining us as well for this meeting. So welcome everybody. And then also several members of Fritz's team. And so we're full strength here today, it looks like. So welcome,
Also, Steve, also Tammy Savoy is with us as well.
Yeah, I think I mentioned Tammy, but yes, Tammy is here as well. Kirk, do you want to, do we need to do any thing from you?
No, sir. This is a formal session of the Finance Committee, open to the public with no privilege.
Okay, good enough. We will get started. If we will, we have on our agenda, we have one item, which actually involves several parts, but we will, it's new transfer and UP scholarships, as well as faculty and staff grants. What I'd like to do, if I could, is maybe start off by saying a few words and then have Bob and Jim comment as well before we get into a detailed explanation of what we have. But let me reverse that. I'm gonna let Bob and Jim comment first, and then I will wrap up if they're so inclined to comment. So Bob or Jim, would you like to, or trustees Haveman or Mahaney, would you like to comment?
I'm just, my comments would be that the motions that are before us today, I'm pleased that we're able to bring them forward, particularly the scholarship motions. A lot of research has shown, both nationwide, but particularly in the UP, the economic devastation that's been caused by COVID, and anything that we can do to help Michigan and UP families send themselves and their children to Northern and to pursue their educational goals is a great thing. So.
Thank you, trustee Mahaney. Jim?
Yeah, I don't see a video up here, but can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you fine.
Yeah, okay. I second Bob's comments, and I think all the motions in front of us are reasonable. You know, as a public health person, I've been tracking, you know, the COVID-19 data in the UP, as well as what's going on with the hospitals and they're at capacity. I've been looking at numbers like many of us, you know, on campus and seeing the prevalence rates. And my suspicion is that the rates are higher on campus than what actually it shows, especially in our last surveillance, which is about 5.64%. So before we kind of go into a discussion of some of these motions, I would like to hear from the president and some of the people on the phone here, just kind of what's going on right now on campus with the numbers and surveillance. What's the plans for the remainder of the year? Are we going to stay open, or is there a hybrid or remote coming up? What's the testing being planned for January? What's the plan for bringing the students back? And I'm also concerned about, with school wandering down, what happens to the kids currently into quarantine?
Okay, I'll see if I can remember all of those.
Okay.
When I
Appreciate it.
forget one, Jim, please let me know. One of the things, of course, as you might imagine, our team has been meeting multiple times a day to monitor the situation. We've had daily conversations with the Marquette County Health Department. We talk regularly with the hospital. I talk to Gar quite often with this. So we watch this very carefully. In fact, we're just completing this week's survey. We're just now getting this week's surveillance testing in. We did 300 and almost 320, I don't remember exact, 320 something surveillance tests, which were as close to random as we have been to since we've been doing this. The reports today that Chris Kirkpatrick is working on, we have 9 additional positives for that, with 90 more results that we're waiting on. So I'm still hoping to hear from Dr. Kirkpatrick and Mike Bath on those results. When it comes to the hospital, the CEO of the hospital has informed me several times that the concerns that they're having are not with NMU. In fact, in our discussions with the health department, we know that they look to NMU as really being handling the situation very well. We have very few cases that end up in the hospital, and I know they're very appreciative. The county health department's challenge right now is in contact tracing. Right. That's being driven, it was reported this morning, what's really driving that is the public school system, and really not the university. So what they're launching into is a prioritization process for contact tracing. We're still trying to get our hands around exactly what that's going to mean for us. It's likely to mean some delays in contact tracing. We are still working through that process. Our commitment, we met today. We've spent a lot of time discussing what the governor's recommendations were yesterday. I was on a call with the governor as well as the other public universities and other university presidents and chancellors. And the concern really is preparing students to go home for Thanksgiving. Certainly a lot of encouragement to have students go and not go back to their campuses. Of course, we had the foresight to start early and finish before Thanksgiving. That clearly was a decision that's helped quite a little bit in this process because we have after tomorrow 7 official days left, although we expect, as is typically the case before Thanksgiving, people bail out a bit early. So we're really dealing with next week. We are sending out a message tomorrow morning, really encouraging our students to go through, to really follow the governor's recommendation and sequester themselves away the best they can, with yet the opportunities from their sequestering to get food. Obviously they need food. We're changing some of the protocols in the dining hall so that it will just be takeout to help them with sequestering. They can go to work per the governor's recommendation, go to class per the governor's recommendation, and of course get medical, if they need medical treatment, be able to do that. But we have every intent and expect to be able to complete the semester with face-to-face classes. It was interesting this morning or this afternoon. I had the opportunity to teach 2 Sociology 101 classes. I really relish, I have to tell you, I relish the opportunity to get in front of those classes and literally taught the way our faculty are teaching today, which was this combination of Zoom and face-to-face. Students were terrific. And I can tell you, our students are deeply appreciative of staying face-to-face and following the model that we have in place. And my expectation, we don't know what's going to come out of Lansing. Things can change, and as we all know, in in the snap of a finger. But our expectation is clearly to finish face-to-face and to start up next semester following the same model. We did get a request from the AAUP that for some faculty that want to, restructure their classes a little bit and feel that they've completed what they needed to be able to do a little bit more via Zoom. That's fine. I mean, that's all within the faculty's purview, and we're glad to support the AAUP's request for that. In terms of coming back in the winter, as we've said repeatedly, our commitment is to do the same thing that we did to begin the fall semester, and that's test everybody.
Okay.
And we've not deviated from that commitment. We are talking about what kinds of models can we put in place that will be a little bit less burdensome on our medical staff. I mean, we put a lot on them. There's an interest on the part of a lot of students that could I test before I come up? And I think there's merit in that. We need to make sure if we allow that we have the right protocols in place to be able to verify it. And there are timing protocols that all need to happen. But if we can make the idea of testing before they come up doable, then I think that'll help. That'll really help in a lot of different situations. And I asked the class today if we have this option to test beforehand, and there are about 30 kids in the class face-to-face for this. The majority just said, I'd do it in a minute. They really like that idea. So I came away from that exchange with that. Again, the last thing I would say is reiterate the number of comments that we have received about how well we have done. Whether it's employees that have been appreciative that I believe we're the only university in the state that didn't lay anybody off.
Right.
Our employees are deeply appreciative of that, and our students are appreciative of the process. The other night, I didn't get out of here till almost 8, and I stopped by the Wildcat Den, placed my order, and then joined the group of students waiting for their order, and always get a chance to chat with them a bit. And these 4 young students, I said, well, they were first-year freshmen. They were just aglow about how this all went. They feel so well connected to one. They're all from different parts of the Midwest. You could tell how good of friends they were. And the one comment they said, this one young woman said, I loved how we had the option to do Zoom and face-to-face. So when I needed to be face-to-face, I went to class. And when I needed to Zoom, and I didn't ask what caused you to need to do Zoom, but they Zoom. So that's kind of a broad overview, Jim. I hope that got to most of your questions.
Yeah, it did it all but one. What about the kids who will be in quarantine when exams are over?
Yeah, we kind of think what's happening now is anybody that's from here forward that's going into quarantine, what we're seeing is a lot of them choosing to leave.
Okay.
So we're seeing parents come up, scoop them right up and out of quarantine, and I expect that will happen. However, we will take care of anybody that's in quarantine or isolation, however long they'll be there. And in fact, Tom Hellengren and the dining crew said, we'll put on a full-blown Thanksgiving meal for anybody that's in there. It's very important to us that we take good care of them.
Okay, thank you very much, Fritz.
Yes, thanks, Fritz. And Jim, anything else? Any questions? You all set?
No, I think my questions got answered and I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd also point out, I think that we've been joined by trustee Fatante as well. There she is, Lisa's here, and Tammy, and I think we've got everybody else we've mentioned. So I would just like to say a couple of things before we get into, and I think what we'll have Gavin do is maybe explain the specifics and the mechanics of what's been developed. So that everybody's totally familiar with what we're doing and what we're moving forward with, and if there's any questions, we can get to those as well. But I would just like to say, starting several weeks ago, this subject was broached with the finance committee by Gavin and Fritz about giving something back to the faculty and staff, and under the belief that these are trying times and people did make sacrifices for us to move forward. And we had those initial discussions, and there was some concern about the finances and where are we and where are we going to be, and a lot of those things. So it took us some time to kind of get around to where we are, and there was a lot of thought and effort went into that. I think that one of the things that helped is that when we first started discussing this, the question of finances were very, very dire, I think. And we weren't sure where we were going to be. There was a variety of things, state appropriations, expenditures, where we were going to be. And what we found over time is that our finances, at least to some extent, were much more improved than we thought they were going to be when we first started having these discussions. So given that, what we looked at was not only doing something for faculty and staff, but we also added a component to do something, I think, but something for our students. And I think that that's what we've come up with as a plan to not only do something that recognizes faculty and staff efforts, but also, recognizes the fact that we are in different times now, and we are competing on a much larger scale with a lot more people than we were before all this happened. And what could we do to try and position ourselves to move forward on that? And and we came up with this proposal that we're going to talk about today. And I want to thank trustees Haveman and Mahaney for all their efforts. We spent a lot of time on the phone and talking about this stuff. I want to thank Gavin and Fritz also for everything that they've done to get us to this point where we are today. It was not easy getting us to this point where we are today. I want to point that out. It was difficult to get everybody to agree what we were going to do and how we were going to do it and when we were going to do it. And so, but I particularly want to thank Bob Mahaney, Trustee Mahaney, for his efforts to do something for the students. He's always been a big proponent of what can we do for our students to recognize the difficult situation that they're in, their families are in with their finances. And then also Trustee Haveman was the big proponent and the mover behind the UP Freshman and Transfer Scholarship, which is a very exciting thing, I think, something that's going to live on well after Jim's or Trustee Haveman's term ends on the board later this year. And he was a big mover and shaker behind that. And I want to make sure that to recognize the efforts of both of them in getting this package forward. So anyways, with that, I think what I'd like to do now, if we could, is Gavin or Fritz, just kind of get into giving us a thumbnail sketch of what this is and what we're gonna act on, and then move on from there. So, Gavin.
We're gonna make you say it all again. Gavin, you're on mute.
All right, now can you hear me? Sorry. Yeah, I guess I'll start out talking about the scholarships, if that's all right. We have a couple exciting new scholarship programs that we're looking at. And the first one involves Transfer Up Scholarship Program. And this is really focused on this winter semester. And when working with admissions and their staff, we were looking at opportunities to attract students between the fall and winter semester. And one of the areas they identified was Michigan residents in the PTK Honor Society program that are in a transfer pool. And there's an opportunity to message and reach out to about 9,900 students between fall and winter to as a potential to come to the university. And what we're doing is giving them some incentive to help them in transitioning to the university. And so we came up with this additional $1,000 winter transfer bonus, in essence, scholarship. And they would receive an extra $1,000 above the $500 they're already getting for transferring to the university. And again, we have a potential pool that they can target message to of about 9,900 students between fall and winter. The other one is for other Michigan transfer students. We're looking at an additional $1,000 for any Michigan resident that transfers to the university between fall and winter. There's about 3,000 students that are being targeted for that. And between those, we think it can make a big difference, not only for the students, but for our potential enrollment for the winter semester. And so they looked at this as a real good opportunity. They've had, some transfer students reaching out to them and asking them, if we're doing anything. And this was what they felt could really make a difference to these students. And one other area that's been quite interesting is there's a number of first-year students who did not attend NMU this fall that would have been freshmen. And they've reached out to admissions and asking if they transferred up here, could they still qualify for the freshman academic scholarship that they would have received if they had started here in the fall. And we thought that it was a great opportunity to allow them to come here and still retain that scholarship if they chose to enroll in the winter semester. And I think it's a great opportunity for those students. And those are really high qualified students that we love to attract and bring up to the campus. And we felt like this would be a great opportunity to maybe bring some of them back here. So I think those are really good ones that really have a lot of potential between fall and winter. And admissions is pretty excited about the opportunity to be able to offer these to the students. The other one you had mentioned about really designing a program to attract more UP freshmen and transfer scholarships for fall 21. What we're doing is creating a new perpetual $1 million UP scholarship fund. And this will really be targeted at attracting more UP students to come to the university, give them, a great opportunity and start to attending, sort of help them with assistance that can really make that opportunity more readily available to all the families that are sending their kids to Northern. And we think it really can make a difference for UP families. And Northern's always been about, reaching out to the UP communities in whatever way we can. We think this could help make a big difference for the students. So those are the scholarship programs that we're looking at in the recommendations that you have before you. And the details of the UP one, the new UP one, will be finalized by the first board meeting in 2021 to be effective in fall 21. But if we get done with the details of the program sooner, obviously we bring it forward sooner than that. The last one is regarding employee appreciation COVID grants. As you mentioned, we ended up better than expected at the end of this last fiscal year by the looks of it. And employees made a lot of sacrifices throughout the summer, including furloughs and other things. And they've really been making a lot of adjustments for this fall to make this fall be as successful as it is, from the testing to the different delivery of courses to the different delivery of services on campus. We've made unbelievable changes on the way we operate on this campus in a very short window of time. And our employees have really kicked in and been supportive of those changes and working, closely with us to make sure we can create a great student experience. And we felt like due to how we ended up better than expected, that we could provide some dollars back to the employees. And what we did is we looked at providing $1,000 minimum or 1.92% of employee salary up to $150,000. And that 1.92% equates out to 5 furlough days, which is what majority of our employees gave up for this over the summer to help the university. And with us ending up in better position than we expected, this is our opportunity to provide some of that back to the employees. So, and as well as recognizing the faculty and the difference they've made this fall. I think it all comes together in a way that we can really appreciate the sacrifice and the resilience and the flexibility and innovation that our faculty and staff have had on the campus. I don't know, Fritz, you want to add a few words to that, or? You're on mute.
Trying to find the mute button, sorry. I'm often asked why why Northern has been so successful when other institutions have had more struggles than we have had. And the answer is just remarkably simple. It really has been our employees that have done this. And the fact that they stepped up and took salary reductions, but at the same time, so many of them doubled and tripled their workload without complaint, without concern. They did things, as my wife would say, the UP way. And so the opportunity, given the fact that we did finish the year financially strong, to take a small portion of that and return it back to those employees, I believe is the right thing to do. And the whole university operates because the cleaning staff is just doing such extraordinary job, going through stuff on such a regular basis. The faculty, it's not for the faint of heart to be able to teach in 2 different modalities at the same time. All of these things. And so it seems to me that this is a very appropriate thing for us to do, to provide back, knowing full well we don't know what the future is going to bring. And so we just have to remember that's part of this, not knowing, because we don't know what's going to happen with the state. We're confident that our enrollment will be good. But we'll always have to continue to monitor the situation.
Thanks, Fritz and Gavin. One
Hey,
question.
Gavin, Mr. Chairman, can I have Gavin just remark a little bit on that $1,000 minimum we put that was put in there by the committee?
Yep, please.
Yeah, well, what we did is we looked at some of our, the lower paid employees, wanted to make sure they received a little bit extra with all the effort that they've done. And so we put in $1,000 minimum to help those staff members of the university.
Thank you.
Gavin, could you comment too on, the financial situation, when we first started talking about this, is a lot different than it turned out to be now. But there are certain caveats with that. It turned out to be better, but a lot of that is not necessarily permanent into the budget. It's mostly one-time type things. So, which was the other thing that we had to look at when we were putting together a package was, how can we recognize faculty and staff at the same time, not create problems for us financially in the future. So if you could comment on that, I'd appreciate it.
Actually, glad you pointed that out. Is really, we were able to do this, and the bottom line, it looks better. There are a number of factors that went into it. Obviously, our investment returns were greater than expected. If you would asked us in March, it would have been a lot different picture, actually throughout the summer until the end of June, the very end of June. We had been projecting a larger decline in appropriation than what was impacted. There were some MEPSR's projections that didn't end up as high as an expense on our financials as expected. And we achieved some greater than expected energy savings with the way we closed facilities across the campus. And that also ended up reducing our supplies and materials expenditures greater than expected. So, a lot of those, as you return to normal activity, you won't achieve those on a regular basis. But it did create some one-time opportunity that helped with the bottom line last year. So again, to your point, is we'd have to be careful about any structural, but providing a one-time amount back to the employees based on where we expected to end up at the end of fiscal 20 is to our point after our discussions appropriate.
And then on the employee grant, how does that work mechanically? Is that just going to take place? Nobody has to file paperwork or anything to qualify, right?
No, HR will just process those automatically. So it'll be an automatic grant as opposed to employees having to take any action. And we plan on processing those, I think, for their December 10th payroll. Right now, we think we can get those done in that amount of time.
Good. All righty. Bob or Jim, is there anything else before we make a motion here or recommendation?
Nothing further from me, Chairman Young.
Nothing further from me, and I would be happy to move the motions that are in front of the committee today.
And I would be happy to second.
Okay. So that motion would be to approve the Employee Association COVID-19 grant, the Transfer You Up scholarship, and the establishment of the new UP freshman and transfer scholarships.
That is correct.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
No, I think the conversation that we've had already covers everything. And I would just say I appreciate all the work that staff have put into this. I think there was a very good back and forth on this that enabled us to get to the point where we're able to help out both our employees and hopefully some new students, while at the same time being fiscally prudent. So I appreciate all the work everyone put into it.
Okay, Jim, are you all set?
I'm all set.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion carries, and I believe that is all we need to handle prior to the board meeting, which is at 4:00, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And then just logistically speaking, are we staying on this Zoom, Kathy, for the board meeting?
Yes.
All right. Okay. With that, I will adjourn the meeting of the Finance Committee on November 12th. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
very
Thanks,
much.
Jim. Thanks, Bob.